Good afternoon. Welcome, and thank you for joining us here today with Family Network on Disabilities Family STAR program. STAR stands for Support, Training, Assistance, and Resources. My name is Latasha Bird, and I'll be your facilitator today. Our goal is that families can be effective partners in their healthcare decision-making process at all levels and report satisfaction with the services that they receive. Today, you are here for nuts and bolts of self-determination. Let's go ahead and get started. So with today's webinar, you are here today for learning a little bit about skill development, nuts and bolts of self-determination and skill building. I want to say again, welcome. Thank you. We're glad that you joined us here today with Family Network on Disabilities. We are a nonprofit 501c3, family-driven and family-centered here in the state of Florida. And one thing we want you to know before we get started is that we do not act as attorneys or doctors or even mental health professionals. But what we do is to provide information and resources and supports for families so they can make informed decisions about their healthcare choices. Again, thank you and welcome. Now you're here today to talk about what is self-determination. There are several factors. You see them here on the screen. What is self-determination? How can family help? Self-understanding, setting goals, assessments, and resources. So we'll talk about each one of these a little bit more in depth as we go through today's webinar. Let's talk first about self-determination. It is the characteristic of a person that leads them to make choices and decisions based on their own preferences and interests. Self-advocacy is very important when it comes to supported decision-making. You have to make it clear about the things that you want. If people try to do something that you didn't say that you wanted, you have to speak up. Speak up for yourself. Yet you can make it clear that you have the right to make decisions about your own life. That's self-advocacy. Within self-determination, sometimes we get those two a little interchanged. Self-determination is the power to decide what you need and what you want. Self-advocacy is the action of making those needs and wants known. So self-advocacy is self-determination in practice. It's self-determination in action. So with that, self-determination is a cornerstone in post-secondary success, according to a transition guidebook. If you would like more information on these different periodicals that we talk about and links within our presentation, please let us know and we can have those requests facilitated for you at a later time. We want to help you understand your needs. And as a person with a disability, understanding what those needs are is a crucial first step in the path of self-determination. Being able to fully understand what your disability is and how it affects you and additional supports you may need to be successful and how you can vocalize those concerns to others is something that may not necessarily come very easily for you. Learning how to talk about your disability with others takes time, and it takes intentional conversations with adults in your life. Self-advocacy and self-determination may look different for every individual, but we need to remember not to compare ourselves or the journey we are on with others. One person may choose to be more quiet, while others may want to be more outgoing. Both people can experience self-determination. It'll be the individual knowledge, skills, and beliefs that could lead to self-determination, and these are delineated according to 5 different components. Those components are: 1, know yourself; 2, value yourself; 3, plan; 4, act and experience outcomes; and number 5, learn. Understanding what your rights are will be in reference also to the transition guidebook. Child who learns from his or her parents that he or she has worth will become a very self-determined adult. But most importantly, families should prepare themselves to accept their child in whatever their new adult role will be and allow their adult children to make an active role in those decisions that they will make and help them to determine their own futures, even if it allows them to make mistakes. Allowing your son or daughter to explore their world. We want to provide opportunities and time for independent self-care activities, such as filling the bathtub, packing your own school lunch, instruction on how to do chores, and an opportunity to have them do them without help. Exposing students to a wide range of opportunities beyond high school and access to information by utilizing their own network or relatives and friends, as well as formal service systems as well, helps lead to employment, further education, community resources, and also community recreational programs. Don't handicap your children by making their lives easy, is a quote that we have from Robert Heinlein, a science fiction novelist. Self-expression helps you to learn who you are. Children need to learn what they say or do is important, and they can have an influence on others. You want to encourage your child to ask questions and to express opinions as well. Discuss how to resolve arguments with schoolmates or other people that they may encounter, and also what to do when there is homework, but friends are asking them perhaps to go to another activity. Also, how to deal with unhappiness and not getting much playtime on a team as they may like. Also want to teach your child how to ask for help. They become confused or even frustrated. Discuss the positives and negative consequences of those actions, and even participate in activities which will promote your self-worth. Model those behaviors and teach your child by explaining their disability and how they learn best, recognizing the challenges that the disability may present. We want to emphasize those abilities. We can all excel at the things that we love. Even interests that you may consider frivolous can have opportunities for success and a safe outlet for acceptance by your own peers. Sports is generally a popular arena for achievement, but what if your child's talent is playing an instrument, perhaps a bass guitar or even a piano? Performing at different functions, such as school dances, can be a boy's ticket to coolness, which just might enable him to avoid going to risky lengths in order to win over a friend's approval. But kids want to feel valued, not only by their families, but also by the greater community. There are a great range of opportunities beyond school. Consider some of these organizations, such as Special Olympics, Miracle Sports, Sports Ability, and VSA, which stands for Very Special Arts. Thinking in terms of what's next, you may want to make a plan. This is also in the transition guidebook. You don't want to leave those choice-making opportunities up to chance. Take every opportunity to allow your child to make choices, wear what they want, pick out what's served for dinner, or even where they might go this year for a vacation. And although it's not always practical or even possible, make sure that these choice opportunities are meaningful. You want to allow your child to make choices and decisions, such as which activities that they may want to attend, and even what things they might want to wear on days when there is no school. You want to focus on the goal and not the obstacles. You want to help your youth recognize the process of reaching goals. And don't just emphasize the outcomes. They need to learn to work toward the goals. Set them as being realistic, but also ambitious expectations. The adage that our goals should extend just beyond our reach is true in this instance. You want to model those behaviors by involving your child to engage in the planning process, listing on a calendar and all of those steps that you need to follow in order to achieve that goal, even if it's something that is happening at home. Your transition can help you achieve important goals. If you seek to live on your own, you must transition out of your parents' or your guardian's home. If you seek to find a full-time job, you must transition out of high school or college. These are all goals that you may want to make in order to reach those different things that you may want to do. Supported decision-making can help you in your transitions. The support of your parents or your guardians during childhood can help you move from home to college or from a dorm to a new apartment. The ultimate goal is to make the transition successful by having a good support system and a team established. Make sure that your needs are met. Your support team doesn't have to just give physical or emotional support. The support team can also give you advice on navigating services. There will be an ongoing type of relationship, even after the transition is complete. We want to help you to get the support that you need. This is also a chapter in the Transition Guidebook. Scheduling appointments for interaction with children of different ages and backgrounds. This could be on daycare centers, schools, churches, or even in the neighborhood. But starting early and finding chances for your son or a daughter to participate in activities that help all children realize that everyone is unique. We talk about supports. What exactly are supports? Well, these are the help pieces that will help you to get everyday tasks accomplished. Support comes in many different forms. Anything and anybody that can help you accomplish your tasks and accomplish your goals in your life are supports. Well, what can I get supports for? Well, you can get support in any area of your life. For example, you can get supports to help you with learning in the classroom, and learning tasks that you needed to perform a job, participate in your community, or even living skills, independent living skills, such as doing household chores. And sometimes those supports can come from a person that's helping you do a task as well. They can be a family member, or even another employee that's working at the place where you are looking for employment. We want to help you to teach responsibility. Take responsibility for your own actions, successes, and for those times where they might not have been so successful. And also provide valid reasons for doing those things instead of simply just saying, because I said so. Providing explanations provides the opportunity for your child to take an action for all of those activities on their own. And being able to make your own decisions are an important part of adulthood and independence. Everybody has certain responsibilities and anytime they make a decision. So when you make those decisions about something, you will have the responsibility to think carefully about what you are doing and how it will affect you, and also how it will affect other people, as well as thinking ahead about any of those risks or potential negative effects of the decisions that you make. You also want to accept what those results are, even if the outcomes are not favorable, but not blame others for the results on someone else. Supported decision-making is another one of the chapters in the Transition Guidebook. It tells you what the supported decision-making is, how supported decision-making can help you, how to form a support network, like we spoke of the slide previous, what kind of supports are available, and also how to make a decision with supports. So when you think about it, throughout your life, many of the decisions about your life have been made by other people. Maybe other people decided what you ate, what you wore, where you went, or even for those adults, how much money you were allowed to have. Maybe you disagree with those decisions, or you've been waiting for the freedom to make your own choices. Or maybe you were okay at times with other people making decisions for you. Then the idea of making your own decisions may make you feel a little anxious or even frightened. But as you transition into adulthood, there'll be many decisions to make. Some decisions related to your transition can be things such as, where do I want to live? Do I want to get a job? Or How will I be able to manage my money? And perhaps what to do with my free time. Some decisions may take more careful consideration than others. So in this chapter on supported decision making, this is going to focus on a system that can help people with other disabilities take on some of those decisions that we can think about that will be explored later on in adulthood. So as an adult, you have the right to make your own decisions, sign your own contracts, vote, defend your rights in a court of law. Also, choose which medical treatments you want to have situations explained to you in a way that you can understand before being able to make a other decision about them, having a final say as well in the things that you want. You have the right to take risks. You have the right to change your mind about situations. And also, you have the right to feel free from exploitation and be free from abuse. Supported decision-making is a model for helping us make decisions about our own lives. And under supported decision-making, we can form teams made up of people that we trust. Those supporters can be family, friends, community members, or anyone else that you will place your trust in. These supporters might be able to have access to private information, such as information about your medical records, so that they would at other times not be able to see. But our supporters are only allowed to see our personal information if we decide that they can. So when you have to make a decision, you can get help from your support team. That supported decision-making is essentially for everyone. Sometimes that decision-making process is more formal. You can have written records of who helped you and what was decided. But most of the time, it's much more informal than that. If you ever ask a friend what their opinion was before maybe purchasing something, that is an example of supported decision-making. People who make most of the decisions by themselves can use supported decision-making as well. How about grandparents? Grandparents can use supported decision-making to understand that everyone has the right to make their own decisions and have the support that they need to do so. Everyone can use supported decision-making. Sometimes assessments are formal and sometimes they may be informal. So formal assessments are standardized instruments that have been tested and they have data, and they're going to show that they are reliable and valid. Valid measures support their use. So with some of these assessments you will see, such as direct observation, where student performance is conducted within the natural or school employment, post-secondary employment, or community settings, and where there are direct observations and they can be done by an expert in that environment, such as a job coach, a co-worker, even recreation specialist, and or a general or vocation educator. Direct observation typically includes a task analytical data of steps used to complete a task or complete work behaviors. That was a formal assessment. Now, on the inverse, an informal assessment will lack that formal reliability and validity measures. These assessments, they require more subjectivity to complete and should be given more than once by more than one person to strengthen their validity. They can be things such as the transition planning inventory, or even a performance and knowledge battery. Other examples of informal assessments can be observational reports and structured interviews, even functional skill inventories, and personal future planning activities, to name a few. So the different education pathways you can take after high school, that's for post-secondary education. Learning in this chapter will help you to understand how to choose your educational path, how to apply and pay for college, what to do if the school doesn't accept you, what kind of supports you can get in college, and how the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and Section 504 protect you from discrimination. There are many different options that you have for education. So this chapter will help you to explore what those options are and learn how to apply for college. There's also the section on ADA and Section 504. It's going to help you understand how you can protect your rights while you're a student. And it's going to discuss what is considered discrimination under those laws. Your rights of education are protected by Title I and Title III of the Americans with Disabilities Act. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act as well. These laws are discussed within this chapter, but in accordance with a broad overview, it will tell you that you have the right to accommodations or supports you need for studying, learning, participating in a lecture or other college environment, and even getting to or around college on your own. Your responsibilities are things that are left up for you to do. You can get support, you can get encouragement to fulfill your responsibilities, but you have to be the person who ultimately does these things. If you know that you need help, support with your responsibilities, it's also up to you to seek that help. Traditional colleges are for people who graduated high school and are 18 or older, and they can be one of the most popular types of post-secondary education. And you can modify your traditional college pathway to suit you. You can take fewer classes to lighten your workload, for example. And for students who have intellectual disabilities, there are transition and post-secondary programs known as TPSIDs. That's TPSIDS. Trade schools or career schools or vocational schools will last around 2 years or less. And they focus on teaching the hands-on skills needed for specific careers. Online courses are also another alternative. You can learn very specialized skills at your own pace. You need to be able to motivate yourself to keep up with the classes. Community classes and workshops are also great ways to learn a variety of skills. You can take classes to learn basic cooking, clay sculpting, sign language, and the list goes on and on. There's no homework, no grades, and even no pressure to earn a certificate. There's a different range of involvement. All different range of involvement would include some things such as the teacher bringing the student to the IEP meeting for a brief period of time, student being able to co-present as an equal member of that IEP team, and also where a student would lead the IEP team with support from his or her primary teacher or those support individuals who are a part of that team. For those adolescents with limited verbal ability, pictures or written statements may be helpful as well. Self-determination and employment in this chapter talks about getting accommodations and support for the things which might otherwise make your job difficult. So talk about those options to disclose your status as a person with a disability to the person you work with, and also what those pros and cons may look like for informing people and the reasons behind this decision that you make. You go through different types of employment as well, such as integrated and competitive employment, working full-time versus working part-time, being self-employed, having supported employment, and even vocational rehabilitation. There are also different government programs that can help persons with disabilities to get jobs. And these programs include Employment First and also Schedule A letters. There are different rights that you have when you are applying for a job, an internship, or even a volunteer position that you're qualified for. And you have the right to not be discriminated against when you apply for a job. In this instance, discrimination means being treated differently because you have a disability. So when you interview for a job, the interviewers are not allowed to ask you some kind of questions. Interviewers cannot ask you about your disabilities. They can ask about your ability to perform the job, however. You may need to disclose that you have a disability to get the accommodations that you might need. Disclosure means that you tell your employer that you have a disability. You also have the responsibility to always do your job to the best of your abilities. Otherwise, you can potentially be fired. Also, if you do need any accommodations or supports, It's up to you to get them from your employer. That's self-advocacy in employment. Here are some other examples of self-advocacy that you can use with your employment. Asking for workplace accommodations, finding and applying for jobs that you want, understanding and exercising your rights within the workplace, and also taking a sick day if you would need to. It takes a village. It definitely takes a village to have all of those team support people in place. There can be agency partners who will help you with disability education, career development, and help youth achieve education and workplace success. Your youth may find support also from teachers, bus drivers, coaches, custodians, even the people in the lunchroom. It definitely does take a village. All of these organizations built in to help you. Even with self-determination in housing and independent living, you have many choices about where to live. You may want to live alone and take care of all your needs, or you may want to live alone but have occasional help from friends and family. Or you also may decide to live with roommates. This will be different in each situation because every roommate has their own personality, their own strengths, and even their own weaknesses. So you and your roommates might share responsibilities, or your roommates might help with some things. You can also choose supported living with a part-time or full-time paid staff. This could range from as little help as having someone cook dinner for you and pay your bills once a week to having as much as someone living with you all the time. Your ideal living arrangement might mean moving out, and that moving process can be difficult. So there are different chapters here in chapter 9 of that transition guidebook. This will give some useful tips on managing what those tricky aspects would look like for moving, like packing and protecting your belongings and transporting all your possessions to a new place. It also tells you what you need to know about signing leases and legal protections that the lease will give you. It also lists the possible hidden costs that you may have to pay upon signing a new lease. All of those rights that you would have, according to the Fair Housing Act, will protect you. It's illegal for a landlord or a seller to refuse to rent or sell a home to you based on your disability. The Americans with Disabilities Act is also supported. And with these laws in place, a guide dog must be allowed to live in a home that normally wouldn't allow pets. A wheelchair access has to be made available. New buildings with 4 or more apartments must be built so someone in a wheelchair could safely and comfortably use the space. It's also your responsibility to find what your individual housing needs would be. Figuring out what your preferences are would be definitely a key step in this responsibility. It's your right to live comfortably. It is your right to live safely as you desire. And it's also your responsibility to seek out those opportunities that will work best for you and what your needs are. Self-advocacy is key in housing and independent living, also with shared living. Besides, it gives you the supports that you may have otherwise gotten from hired staff, but the people that you live with can help you in those shared responsibilities. There's also different accessibility and accommodation factors that you can take. And it's important that you understand that all of these factors that you have taken in choosing and having consideration about housing will help you determine where you live and how you live and have a major impact on your independence. Housing can come in many forms, so it's very important that you know what your needs are and know what your preferences are in order to choose a place to live. Within chapter 10, there's self-determination and managing your own health care. You have rights and responsibilities, even in your health care. You have the right to have all the equipment at your healthcare provider's office be accessible to you. Some examples of accessibility would be exam tables and even weight scales that should be physically reachable and usable by you. The office should not be so loud or overwhelming that it prevents you from being there as well. In some cases, you may have to ask for your access needs to be met, but you have the right to have this request be honored. You also have the right to extra time on visits if you need that time and to bring in your service animal. You have the right to get the healthcare services you need, and you have the right to not be discriminated against in getting those services. There are responsibilities also under the Affordable Care Act that you must have health insurance. You may pay a fine every month if you do not have insurance, but it is your responsibility to make sure that you have insurance. It's your responsibility to tell doctors about any symptoms that you are concerned about. If you're confused, make sure that you clarify all of those options and clarify those directions if you are given directions on medications or prescriptions with your healthcare provider. If you need a follow-up appointment, make sure to schedule that as well. And you need to make sure that you take any of those medications that are prescribed to you. And you are responsible for following all of the instructions that come with those prescriptions and medications. Here are a few goals that you can set for yourself as well. Finding a doctor or finding a new doctor, creating a regular bedtime routine, starting to take a multivitamin every day, exercising perhaps for 30 minutes every day, or either drinking at least 64 ounces of water every day. Those are different goal setting options that you can have. Let's talk about self-advocacy in healthcare. To get what you need from healthcare providers and to be responsible for our own well-being, we need to self-advocate. Here are some examples of self-advocacy in healthcare. Going to a doctor about a health concern and even asking for advice. Asking for a second opinion if you think the doctor has misdiagnosed you or not given you the correct advice. Finding a new provider if you're unhappy with the healthcare provider or the therapist. And also filing a complaint if you think your healthcare provider has not given you the treatment that you need or has discriminated against you. Let's talk about person-centered care. The medical home creates a team of people. This is your medical home care team. Your medical home care team, they are the people who are going to coordinate and provide care for you. That medical home is patient-centered. Patient-centered means that you're always at the center of this team. Other people in the team can include your primary care physician, family members, health educators, specialized doctors and therapists as well, care coordinators, personal care assistants, even social workers and staff at school or work, and also other people who you have chosen to be healthcare supporters. Your team should learn about your healthcare and take the time to learn what your preferred way of communicating is, those accommodations and supports that you may need, also what your values are and what your preferences are, and what your current life situation entails. Your care team should remember these details, and in that way, you can get healthcare treatments that make sense for you. Here are a few healthcare career quizzes and skills assessments that you can engage in just to figure how you are doing and help in that self-advocacy process on your journey to become independent. Should you need a more formal copy of these career quizzes and skill assessments, please reach out to us at Family Network on Disabilities Family Star Program, and we'd be able to help you with that request. We would like to find out if there are more information that you would like to receive by giving an evaluation. Help us to help you. Please contact us with Family Network on Disabilities Family Star Program for those needs to be met. And so on behalf of our regional PTIs, the Family Star Program, and our Family Network on Disabilities umbrella organization, we want to say thank you for joining us here today. We invite you to follow us on our social media channels and our website at www.fndusa.org. So with that, we want to say thank you for joining us here today for self-determination and self-advocacy with the Family Network on Disabilities Family Star Program. Should you need to contact us, you can do so by contacting us at 1-800-825-5736. Again, that number is 1-800-825-5736. And with that, we hope you have found some valuable information on the nuts and bolts of self-determination and self-advocacy. My name is Latasha Bird. It's been a pleasure to bring this information to you today. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye-bye.